Welcome back to another great game of CEDH. Hope everyone enjoyed the turkey and mashed potatoes. And now that it is the season, I want to show off some cool mtga apparel that I make. And with the weather getting colder, what's better than a nice hoodie or beanie? So if you want to help support the channel, or just want some cool stuff, come check us out. I make everything myself, and it would be greatly appreciated. But starting us off is Griffin on Derevi. This is a highly efficient bird that gets to abuse cards such as Preston, Gaia's Cradle, or the One Ring. His opening hand had a Polluted Delta, Wooded Foothills, Fairy Mastermind, Pollywog Prodigy, Cyclonic Rift, Finale of Devastation, and an Emil the Blessed. Next up is Noah on Tymna Thrasios. TNT is back, baby. This is a highly resilient value-based deck, aiming for infinite mana through Devoted Druid, Valley Floodcaller, or Kinnan Lines. His opening hand was a Scalding Tarn, Lotus Petal, Vampiric Tutor, Lotho, Kinnan, and an Opposition Agent, bottoming a Diabolic Intent. In the third spot we have hidden on Glarb. This is a bug Doomsday list, using Glarb to crack the pile while letting you clear lands or cast a Force of Will off the top. His opening hand had an Exotic Orchard, Mox Amber, Legolas's Quick Reflexes, Born Upon the Wind, Force of Negation, and a Valley Floodcaller, bottoming an Abrupt Decay. And bringing up the rear is Mike on Baylen. This is Naya Tokens, and while Dockside is gone, there are still plenty of producers that let you make mana, draw cards, or quickly close out a game. His hand was a Spire Garden, Ancient Tomb, Gilded Goose, Charismatic Conqueror, Blind Obedience, Survival of the Fittest, and a Chord of Calling.
Alright, block there, kill that. Oh, that is trample. Guess I'm just dead on board.
Griffin starts off the game with a Polluted Delta. Noah follows that with a Scalding Tarn, cracking the fetch for an Underground Sea, but shortcuts as he casts a Lotus Petal into a Lotho. Hidden heads to his turn and plays out an Exotic Orchard into a Soul Ring. Mike plays out a Spire Garden and also has a turn 1 play as he casts a Gilded Goose, which makes a food on ETB. Griffin has a Manamo as land and also casts a Soul Ring. He then cracks his fetch for a Tropical Island and then casts a Pollywog Prodigy, which triggers Lotho for a treasure. Noah has a Boseiju and for 3 casts his commander Tymna. He then turns Lotho sideways at Mike, who takes the hit, with Noah paying a life on his second main to draw off Tymna. Hidden unfortunately whiffed on a land as he cycles a Born Upon the Wind. He draws and misses again as he passes the turn there. Mike for 2 casts a Charismatic Conqueror and ships the turn there. Griffin plays out a Wooded Foothills and also passes there. Noah starts off with combat. He sends Tymna at Mike and Lotho at Hidden. There are no blocks, with Noah spending 2 life that he gained to draw off Tymna, with Griffin in response flashing in a Fairy Mastermind to also join the fun and draw himself. It will enter tapped with Griffin's Pollywog growing as well. Noah then plays out a Scrubland and for 1 casts a tapped Deathrite Shaman. Hidden manages to find a command tower off the top and unfortunately still can't cast anything, as he ends his turn with the tapped Mox Amber. Mike has an Ancient Tomb as land and ends his turn with a Survival of the Fittest. Griffin plays out a Misty and then cracks his Wooded Foothills, to which Noah responds by exiling an Elvish Spirit Guide and for 3 flashes in an Opposition Agent. Now this will prompt Mike to respond by using his Goose for green to activate his Survival of the Fittest, and Griffin also to crack his Misty as well. Griffin will find out a Tundra, and while Mike is still searching, Noah takes a look at Griffin's hand, seeing that cutting him off double white was a pretty good idea. Noah then steals a Savannah, with Mike deciding on just grabbing out a value Arasta of the Endless Web. Griffin then casts his Revealed Preston and evolves his Pollywog once again. Noah then untaps and his upkeep Enlightened Tutors. He gives a card to Griffin and then finds a Mystic Remora to draw for turn. Noah then casts a fish and feeds another card to Griffin, while also making himself a tapped treasure off Lotho as well. Combat is then held, with Lotho heading at Mike and Tymna heading at Hidden. There are still no blockers. Noah draws 2 off Tymna, with Griffin getting a draw off his fairy as well. With Noah then ending his turn with a tapped Kinnan and playing out the Stolen Savannah. Hidden draws and then casts an Arcane Signet. Both Noah and Griffin draw, with Hidden feeling generous, deciding to have it enter untapped and give Mike a vampire. Hidden then taps 3 for his commander Glarb, which gives Noah a tapped treasure off Lotho, with Hidden having his commander enter tapped as well. Mike plays out a Savannah as land and casts a Tutored Spider, ending his turn with combat as he sends his Vigilant Conquistador at Noah. Griffin has a Gaia's Cradle as land and taps 4 for the Apple of Eden. He draws Noah a card and has the artifact enter tapped. Noah untaps and pays for his fish. Still in his upkeep, he casts a Vamp Tutor. This will give a card to Griffin, while giving a spider to Mike. Noah then finds a card to put on top and draws it for turn, with him then passing through his main to head to combat. He then sends Tymna at Hidden, and then on his second main, pays 1 of the 2 life he gained to draw. This is his second card drawn, as he feeds another card to Griffin. Noah then for 2 casts a Devoted Druid. He has the creature enter tapped, and then follows that up with a swift reconfiguration. Griffin will then draw off his Polywog, Noah will make an untapped treasure off Lotho, and although Griffin probably should have responded to that, he does cast a delay on the reconfiguration. To which Noah responds with the Force of Will, pitching a Born Upon the Wind. But Griffin isn't done fighting yet, as he Psych Rifts, trying to bounce the Druid. Noah draws and makes an untapped treasure off Griffin's second spell, while Mike makes a spider and another vampire. And to all of this, Noah hardcasts a Mindbreak Trap. And I guess this is enough for Mike, as he was sandbagging an answer, as he fires off a Path to Exile, targeting the Druid. Both Griffin and Noah draw, but the path resolves, exiling the Druid, with Noah unfortunately not having a basic to grab off the search. With Noah then ending his turn with a Tropical Island, and a Survival of the Fittest of his own, with Griffin drawing once again. Hidden really didn't think he was gonna untap, as he misses another land and passes the turn. Mike starts off his turn though by casting his commander Baylen. He then can tap down 2 of his bugs to help pay for a Blind Obedience, with this giving Noah a draw, an untapped treasure, and Griffin drawing off his Polywog as well. Mike then heads to combat and sends his Conqueror back at Noah for 2. Griffin starts off his turn by cracking his apple to steal Hidden's hand, who in response flashes in a Valley Floodcaller, with him then activating Glarb to surveil 2. He mills a Ledger Shredder, and then casts a Legolas's Quick Reflexes. This will trigger the Valley Floodcaller, Arasta, Polywog, Lotho, and the Mystic Remora. And after the untap, Hidden then taps his Glarb to surveil again, with Hidden having Glarb punch the Preston. To which Griffin responds with a Cloud Shift. This triggers the Mystic and Spider, with Griffin also getting a trigger off his Fairy Mastermind. This then prompts Noah to respond as he activates his Survival to pitch an Esper Sentinel to grab out and cast an Orcish Bowmaster. Granted, Griffin fires off a Strict Serenade, which gives another card to Noah and another spider to Mike. The Bowmaster is then countered, with Griffin then getting his draw. But Hidden still has more responses, as he then casts an Into the Floodmaw, targeting the Polywog. Once again, triggers happen, as Noah draws, Griffin draws, Mike makes a spider, and Hidden gets to untap his creatures once again. The Polywog is then bounced, with Hidden then tapping his Glarb once again to put 2 more Death Touch damage on Preston, fizzling the Cloud Shift, and finally letting Griffin steal Hidden's hand off the apple. Griffin then plays out an Exotic Orchard and casts a tapped Delighted Halfling, with Griffin then ending his turn with a tapped Agatha's Soul Cauldron, giving 1 more card to Noah and discarding due to hand size. Noah untaps and pays for his fish. He then activates his Survival for a Seedborn Muse and then casts a creature. following that up with his commander Thrasios. Following that up with the tap Bloom Tender. This will give him a tap treasure off Lotho, with Noah then ending his turn with a tapped Soul Ring. Although at end step, Griffin has his swords on the Seedborn, adding one more spider to the board and giving Noah a card, along with Griffin getting one off his fairy as well. Hidden then untaps, draws, and then taps Glarb to Surveil. He bends a Birds of Paradise and keeps the other card, which turns out to be a Gush as he hardcasts the spell. One more spider, one more card to Noah, and one card to Griffin off his fairy. With Hidden then shocking in an Overgrown Tomb as land for turn. Passing there, with Mike at his end step, tapping his tokens to draw him 4 cards and one more card to Griffin. Mike then for 3 casts a Tireless Provisioner. He then plays out a Misty as land, he'll get a treasure from the Provisioner, and then heads to combat. Noah shows off a handful of Artifact Acceleration, which convinces Mike to send Baylen at Griffin, who doesn't block, with Mike choosing to pump Baylen once to have Griffin take 7. Griffin untaps and plays out a Flooded Strand as land. He then casts an uncounterable Tapped Emil, and goes full send as he activates Derevi's ability to put the commander on the field. Noah passes priority, with Hidden then tapping Glarb to Surveil 2 once again, and he holds priority though to cast a Deadly Rollick off the top, targeting the Unicorn. This puts an untap trigger, a spider, and a draw trigger on the stack, with Griffin responding to this with a Pact of Negation. This triggers Lotho, Mystic, and the spider. Mike will then start tapping tokens to draw, which triggers the fairy to draw Griffin a card as well. And while Mike doesn't have anything, Hidden casts a Force of Negation, pitching a Neo form. This triggers an untap, a spider, Lotho, and a draw, with Griffin getting his fairy draw off Noah as well. The triggers then resolve, with Hidden untapping and retapping Glarb. He surveils a Rhystic to the bin, with the Force then countering the Pact. Hidden has another untap trigger on Glarb, and Emil is exiled. Griffin then uses a Floating Green and casts a Birds of Paradise. Also at this point, we remember the Derevi untap as Griffin untaps his Gaia's Cradle, which will help him cast the One Ring, drawing Noah one more card. Noah then untaps and lets his fish go. He plays out his own Gaia's Cradle as land and lets it slip he's probably going to Culling Ritual, as he floats a bunch of mana. He will then first activate Thrasios, bottoming a card and revealing a Tainted Pact. He then casts a Chromox, but with the imprint trigger still on the stack, Mike responds with a Lightning Bolt on the Oppo, which surprisingly goes through, as Mike and Griffin both then crack their fetches. Mike also then starts tapping his creatures to help cast a Chord of Calling, where X equals 3. But this time Noah responds with the hard-casted Force of Negation, to which Griffin responds with a Swan Song on the Force. Mike then finds a Ranger Captain, and while he searches out a 1-drop, cracks the Ranger, to which Noah Tainted Pacts. But the table has more responses, as Griffin then taps his Soul Cauldron to exile Hidden's Bird, and put a counter on his fairy, which gives him a blue mana to show Noah an offer he can't refuse. Noah will then activate Thrasios in response, bottoming a card and revealing a Swansong off the top, to which he casts to counter Griff's Swansong, and he then starts exiling off the top till he finds a Thassa's. Although he realizes as he started exiling, he should have just searched it out with his survival instead, as he then casts a Demonic Consults, to which Hidden casts a Force of Will off the top. Hidden will surveil 2 to the graveyard, as Noah then activates Thrasios one more time, bottoming a card to reveal a Pact of Negation off the top, letting him counter the Force, and even with Mike drawing all the additional cards he could, the table is out of answers as Noah then wins the game. Game review. Man, there were so many triggers. I wasn't sure who was going to come out of it on top. From Polywog to Fish to the surprising Baylen draws, it seemed like everyone was drawing. Well, other than Glarb, who at least were able to cast a few spells off the top. But what really surprised me was how good Survival of the Fittest it felt. This wasn't the only game we played with the deck, and it came in clutch quite a few times. Thanks to everyone that joined for the game, and before everyone leaves, I want to thank our special Patreon members, Slyfox and Holy Septic, for their support of the channel, along with all of our other Patreon supporters as well. And remember, never give up, even if you're dead on board. I'll see you guys later.